Emil, what a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Firstly, how wonderful is it to see Liverpool playing the way they are playing right now?
It's fantastic. I think since Jurgen has come in, he's really emphasised on being on the front foot, really putting pressure on the opponent, and it's pleasing on the eye. It's so exciting to watch. You know, everyone's watching Liverpool play. You know, they want to see goals. They want to see attack-minded football. You've got the fullbacks playing very high, a solid defence. So yeah, it's exciting.
What do you think has changed with this Liverpool team in particular since Klopp came in?
I think the mentality. I think the mentality of actually going out and like I said, being on the front foot, being closing people down, the intensity of the play. I think that's changed a lot. I think the mentality of winning. Yes, you're going to have setbacks every now and again, but you've got to have that winning mentality all the time. And I think you see a love from him towards the players that has brought the best out in all the players. You know, when you're looking at some of the players, that they've taken large steps, and now look at them. Some of them are the best players in the world.
Emil, we talk about Premier League as being one of the most competitive leagues in the world. Last 3 seasons, we have seen Man City and Liverpool at a completely different level. Man City in the 17-18 season, they won the league with a 19-point gap. Them and Liverpool both had over 95 points last season, and Liverpool, we're seeing right now, they're just walking to the title. So, do you think that competitiveness has kind of eroded off a bit in the last few seasons?
No, I don't think so. I think you'll still see a competitiveness because with what's in stake for the Premier League, you know, and I'm going from when I was playing as well. I played with Liverpool and I played with smaller clubs, and you want to be playing in the Premier League. It means so much to you, so you'll fight against anyone. And yes, you'll pick points up against the big teams, and you don't expect it sometimes, but you have that fight, and this is what I think people love about the Premier League. When you go to other when you look at other leagues, you definitely know who's going to win the league, and you definitely know by how much points. But when you're looking at the Premier League, you never know who's going to be fighting relegation at times, and top can beat the bottom, and bottom can beat the top.
Right. You spoke about Jurgen Klopp bringing a real love for the players. You had a very long career in the league as well as for England. Who has been your favorite manager? Who did you like working with the most?
Houllier was outstanding for me. It's funny because I played for the national team England under 18s. Me and Michael Owen were playing up front together.
Right.
Gerard Houllier was the manager of the French national team at the time. So he's seen us two playing together, and then moved to Liverpool and decided to buy me to partner with Michael. So that's how that married up. And I enjoyed playing under him because he had this warmth towards me, make me feel welcome, and gave me that feeling that I wanted to go out there and perform for him. And he had that with a lot of the younger lads, and that's why he got the results that he did. You know, he got a lot of good results. We won the treble in the 2000-2001 season, and it's because of his stewardship.
But sometimes you would fall asleep during the meetings with.
Yeah.
That's what you said in the meeting.
Yeah,
In the,
but that was because. So I went from Leicester, where you generally didn't have much meetings, and this is the different philosophies of football as well. So I'd go from Leicester, where you didn't really have much meetings. We'd concentrate on ourselves and just go and play the games. Whereas then you come to Liverpool, where it's you know everything about your opponent. You're sitting through meetings. You're learning about this, and I learned a lot more under Houllier, but it was tough because. So imagine coming and you've got rows of chairs, and you sit at the back and you're watching the telly, and it's all pitch black.
Right.
So the first couple of times you fall asleep.
It would go on for hours. This kind of analysis.
Not hours, but like say an hour.
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to it at first, but then you start slowly get used to it, and you're taking a lot in because there's a lot of information, especially around football. You're always learning.
Emil, actually, I want to ask you something about your experience as a striker.
Mm-hmm.
a lot of talked about like the number of goals that you've scored during your time in the top flight. But I think one thing that's not as much talked about is the number of assists you provided. Like I think it's 53 or something. I was just looking it up. So were you like a false number 9 before there was a false number 9?
No, I was a number 9. I was a number 9. The thing was, this, you say about the number of goals. I still scored over 100 goals in the Premier League, so I'm one of 14 or 15 people that have done it. So, but I was a team player, so I was more for the team than actually myself as a striker. And you're seeing that a lot with Firmino now as well. He scores a lot of goals, to be fair to him, but he's more yes, and his players always thinking about other people around him and how do you bring him in, what sort of way to pass do I need to play him in, and this is what you're getting from him. But for myself, I always thought team. I love that aspect of it because they're my teammates. I've got to look after them, and they're going to look after me as well. So and that's what happened. I scored 21 goals in my first full season at Liverpool. So it was a bit of both.
Do you think that's that part of your game, bringing others into play and providing assists? You think it was that kind of play is admired more now, appreciated better now than when you were playing?
Probably appreciated more now because in general, when you're talking about forwards, it's just goals and that's all you're looking at. But if you're not scoring goals, what are you actually doing for the team then? And now we've seen it more with other forwards and people are appreciating that a lot more now.
So what kind of a pressure is there on the striker when he's not scoring goals?
A lot.
And how do you cope up with that?
You have your own coping mechanisms, and a lot of it's down to the manager as well, because he will put his arm around you and reassure you that things are still going well as long as you're winning. But no, it's about your own inner strength and courage to keep pushing yourself and keep doing well. You're not going to be scoring every week, to be honest with you. But as long as you chip in and doing your best for the team, that's what counts.
Who was your favorite strike partner? Owen? Right.
Obviously.
So tell us a story about you and Owen working together.
Well, like I said, we actually first started playing together England under 18s, and it just clicked. We had an understanding from then that I was the tall guy. I was the one that I could hold the ball up, bring him in. I was getting my fair share of goals, but I'd lay things in for him, and it just worked. Whenever I'm going up for a header, he doesn't need to know if I'm going to win it. It's not if or buts. He knows I'm going to win it, so just make the run. And that's what happens. I'll hold the ball up, play. I know where he's going to be for his shot. He'd cross the ball and I'd try and finish. So it was just, everything just ticked every single box, and it was just so instinctive that we just worked together well.
There was a time when you and Owen, you were both starting for England and Liverpool, and then around 2003-04, Wayne Rooney was emerging in the England team. What was the period like after 2004 when you were dropped from the national team? You were no longer a starting choice. What was the?
It was fine, You're never going to be in the team all the time. So when you're talking the national team, you're talking the pinnacle. So there's going to be people who are coming and vying for your place, and it's for you to step your game up as well, and you to show your worth. So it was fine. I found it fine because it's a challenge, and if you're not challenging yourself, you're not really pushing yourself, are you? So I always try to push myself, and considering I think I made my debut in 2000 or 99, I might have been, and then my last game was in 2010. I didn't do too bad.
Emile, you played alongside Michael and Robbie, and of course, then Fernando came in and he did his bit, and then we saw Suarez take it to another level. Now, these front three, where do you place them in the history of great Liverpool strikers and the front three? Where do you place these three?
Well, with what they're doing, they're up there with the best of them. You're looking at you're even comparing them to the best in the world at this moment in time, and they're up there with the best of them. The way they play, the pace they play at, the intensity that they play at, and the goals they score. So you're looking at them with the best in the world. You're comparing them with that, and they're in and amongst that. So you've got to give them that credit.
Emily, you mentioned Houllier a bit a while ago. You quite an incredible season you had in the first season at Liverpool. Do you think that Liverpool team kind of underachieved, given the start they had in the 2001-2 season, ended up losing the league by 5 or 6
It's
points?
difficult to say underachieved, to be honest. When you win 5 to 6 trophies, you can't really call that an underachievement. Yes, and we finished second in the league, which is a great achievement, you know. So I left Leicester to come to Liverpool because I wanted to win stuff, and that's what we did. 3 trophies in one season. Went on, won another League Cup, won the Super Cup as well. So Community Shields. So it's difficult to say whether it was actually a disappointment or underachieving, you know. So I think winning trophies is always a good thing.
And the same season you finished second in the league. You went on to make your World Cup debut that year, 2002. And what a great team that was. And also the 2004 Euros. I mean, you were in two great England teams. Why do you think England underachieved during this period? And even in
Um,
the 2006 World Cup?
Good question. When you look at France, I was saying before, my age group of France, Thierry Henry, Trezeguet, Mikhail Silvestre, William Gallas, Usman Darbo. Then you add Zidane, Perez, Petit, Vieira. Who else? Add all them who had the golden era, who had the golden generation. We just come up against good nations, really good, strong nations, who were possibly better than us at cup competition, because our problem wasn't the actual qualification; it was the actual intensity of cup and getting them key results.
Um, Actually, I also want to talk about that particular era, like around 2000, 2001, 2002, and like I wanted you to talk us through, like, you know, how it was in the, for example, the treble season, and like, you know, and there seemed to be a sense that Liverpool is finally getting to grips with the Premier League as it had become after the old First Division, which Liverpool had dominated. So it was kind of like Liverpool was slowly catching up. So did you see that kind of a difference in terms of like whether sports medicine was being used, or like, you know, sports science was being used, the way that you guys trained under Houllier? So I want
Yeah,
you to talk
definitely.
through that.
Look, because I came from Leicester, which was a little bit different to coming to Liverpool and using sports science, and you've got to give credit to Gerrard and even Arsene Wenger and people like that when it comes to diet and things like that, coming into the sport at that given time and changing it for the better. Now you see everyone doing it now. But these were one of the pioneers. Him and Gerrard were the pioneers to bring it into the British way of thinking when it comes to sport. So it changed a lot, but it changed us as well. There was a lot of games that season we played. There were 65 games that season, so it's a lot. But we got through it through the diet and controlling the way that you actually train and how much training you do was great.
Of all the great Liverpool teams of the past, where would you place this one? Is this one of the best you've seen?
Well, at the end of the day, they're doing fantastic. They're pleasing on the eye, like most of the Liverpool sides were, and they'll be up there with the best of them. You know, this generation has done a fantastic job in grasping football back and grasping everyone around the world to have a look at Liverpool. So yeah, it'll be up there with the best of them.
And you've got all sorts of wonderful stories happening. You've got great players coming in from outside England, but you've also got Trent Alexander, who's a Liverpool
Local.
local, has always played in the youth team, and coming up through the ranks. That's really great to see.
Yeah, it's great, and I think that's the Liverpool way as well, because you've always had at least a couple of local lads. And when I was playing, it was Stevie and Jamie Carragher, Michael as well, to be honest with you. So it's always nice to have that connection with the local community, and Trent is that guy, and he's done fantastic.
But when Liverpool's playing Leicester, who do you root for?
You know, the funny thing is, I was born in Leicester. I was a Liverpool fan. Yeah, I was. My uncle was a big Liverpool fan, so I always followed. I was always with him and supporting Liverpool. So when they come calling, it was no brainer.
And that phase with Leicester that you had, that was a great phase for the club. Martin O'Neill, under Martin O'Neill, and you did well, great in the League Cup. Now Leicester are doing great. Are you surprised by how strongly they have returned back to the Premier League, and not just that they've gone on to win the Premier League and now they are in the top three?
No, not really. They've done a wonderful job in a structural way as well. You know, so they're a sustainable club, very good club, and they've got a very good manager, an ex-Liverpool manager. So who's doing great things right now. So onwards and upwards.
Emily, you played at a time when you had two clubs which were doing well, Arsenal and Manchester United, and of course you saw Sir Alex and Arsene being given a long rope, irrespective of whether they were getting results later on or not. That doesn't happen anymore. Clubs want success immediately. With the Klopp project on right now, he gets success in the Premiership. How much? I mean, how much of a long rope do you think Liverpool can give to a person like Klopp to create a legacy the way Sir Alex and Wenger did?
Well, he's creating a legacy. You look at what he's done from since he came in, going Europa Cup final, going Champions League finals, challenging for the league title, and still in the hunt now. So he's going places, and then he's taking one step at a time and building the legacy for a club. I'm sure he's capable of doing that, and not just that. The club is run like a family club. He knows everyone. He says hello to everyone, and this is the importance of him as well. It's not just talking to the top players. It's talking to the people who clean the kit. He's talking to the people who do the lawns. He's talking to everyone and making everyone feel part of the club, which is great.
I mean, it's a more general question, but what do you think is the biggest difference that you see from the time that you were playing in the league and now? Because it's a much more internationally followed league now. But when you guys were playing, that was when that was first started to happen. It was slowly started to happen. But like both as a player and as a fan of football, what do you think is the biggest difference between then and now?
The biggest difference as a player, I would say it's quicker now, the game, and I slowly started to see it because I obviously started at 17 and I finished at 38. So I slowly started to see, even in between, that it was getting quicker. People were looking after themselves better, and they were getting stronger. Their understanding of football knowledge is better. So yeah, it started to get better in that sense. As a fan, I think events like this is great because they bring the fans closer, and you generally never had that before. It was just watch it on the telly, you can have that feeling there, but to actually come closer like Liverpool World are doing is having the opportunity to have ex-players come over and interact with you. I think they do coaching as well, interacting with the fans clubs. It wasn't as prevalent back then as it is now, and I think it's just bringing them all, matching them all up together.
The league is almost wrapped up for Liverpool. In the Champions League, just in terms of the way Liverpool play and the way other teams play, which team do you think will pose the greatest challenge for Liverpool if they were to meet in the Champions League?
I think Jason said the other day he'd love to see PSG.
PSG.
Yeah, you know that would be an interesting one. And to be honest with you, they need the Champions League, don't they? That's one of the ones they want. So that would be an interesting one.
And the last question: your favorite memory from your playing days for Liverpool?
Always scoring against Everton is always a nice one. That's always a nice one, and it's funny because I got a story about that. So when I finished at Leicester, when I left Leicester, we just played against Everton. So you know, it was a good game. I think we won the game at Goodison. And then I moved to Liverpool, and then one of the first games was playing against Everton. Well, and you don't realise the intensity and what it means until you actually go into the stadium and on that pitch. And I got kicked from pillar to post, and then I understood. Then next year I scored, so that was good.
Right. Thank you so much, Emil.
No
It was a
problem.
pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.